coming at you from New Jersey, the capital of misery, the place where metal forgot to die.
This is the Hereliesmetal podcast, and today we are here with an extra special episode, Maledictus.
I'm Maledictus. She's Samanthar.
I'm Samanthar.
We're gonna do something different today. I know, we're usually doing reviews of these underground black metal or death metal bands, but today we're gonna do something very odd. We're gonna do the news again. First of all, let's start with that. We haven't done the news in a while because there's nothing been interesting going on until now. And today we're going to talk about the whole Motley Crue controversy. It's like, wow, you guys are talking about Motley Crue when you just talked about some obscure death metal band? Yes, because I kind of,
Maledictus likes hair metal.
Likes hair, Motley Crue. I think Motley Crue is
I can appreciate Motley Crue.
Yeah, they got a, kind of a badass sound, especially the first two albums. Pretty good. But let's get into it.
All right, let's give all the facts up front, just in case, you might know some of them, you might know none of them. We'll put it all out there first, and then we'll discuss. This whole drama started October 2022 when Mick Mars, guitarist for Motley Crue, announced he will no longer be touring with them. Everyone's known Mick Mars suffers from an illness. It's called ankylosing spondylitis.
This gives him that sickly kind of...
which from what I understand is
appearance.
Kind of like similar to arthritis for the spine. Your vertebrae fuse. That's why he looks hunched a lot of the time, and it causes a lot of pain, hip pain, neck pain. So it's kind of admirable. He's 71, touring and playing with this condition.
Yeah, he's a good 10 years older than the rest of them, I believe.
But so he announced that he was retiring from touring. And they had an upcoming stadium tour with Def Leppard called the Stadium Tour.
Yeah, it featured Def Leppard. I think it was Poison, Def Leppard, and Joan Jett.
They had just come off a big tour, too, in 2022, and I guess that he decided that was his final one. They all knew it was his final one. Then he announced October that he is done. The next day after his announcement, Motley Crue makes their own announcement, saying Mick Mars has retired from the band. And they will continue as he wishes, touring as Motley Crue. So that's a little vague. You could take it as, agreeing with what Mick Mars said, or maybe not. Yeah. Maybe saying he's gone. But I don't think anyone really thought anything of that announcement at the time. They just thought, he retired from touring.
When they announced it in October, I was like, oh, good. I mean, he's not, he's a little, he's a little old and weak. It's time, to probably move on.
Mick Mars' announcement was explicit in saying that he wasn't retiring for any, recording they might do, if they're doing that.
He just didn't want to tour with them anymore, understandably.
Yeah, and he was also saying that he's open to one-off performances. Mm-hmm. Of the or if they did some kind of residency in Vegas, he would be okay with that.
That's always easy, right?
But he just can't be on the road anymore.
Understandable.
So, there wasn't, reaction really from the fans other than people who wanted to see him play live. But there started to be a little bit of a hint that there might be some drama going on. The next month in November, former vocalist who took over the time where Vince Neil left the band, John Corabi.
Yeah, that was in the early 90s. That was, nobody talks about that.
Well, he still exists. And he talked to the press, and he said he doesn't buy everything that's happening. And he says that he thinks that Mick is not retiring from touring, only touring, that he's being pushed out of the band. He just gets this feeling, and he even says it's just speculation. Don't print it. Of course, they printed it.
They got nothing else
to do.
So
the rumor...
They're even listening to John Corabi, the press.
Is that how you say it?
John Corabi? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Yeah, he's not much
so
of
we had some silence for a bit. Then in March 2023, we get a little more drama with Carmine Appice.
Hey, Carmine Appice. Carmine.
I think you know a little bit more about this.
Yeah, Carmine, from Vanilla Fudge back in the day, and also King Cobra.
He's a drummer. I think he gets around.
Great drummer of King Cobra. Great band. Did the soundtrack for Iron Eagle, right? Basically there was this quick little feud between them, and I saw it a week ago.
Nikki Sixx.
And basically he was calling out, but he was talking about in the article he was talking about Mick Mars and his friendship with Mick Mars, and this is where it kind of started appearing that something was going to happen. If you read the article, but yeah, he started calling out Tommy Lee because I'm sorry, Nikki Sixx, because he says Nikki Sixx plays the tracks. And he's like, and then they started sort of a little Twitter feud going on, and Nikki Sixx is like, oh, you're a washed up drummer. He's like, well, I'd rather be a washed up drummer than somebody who's, at least I know how to play my instrument. And then they challenged him to a playoff, like a jam off, which I don't know, a drummer versus bass. I don't really know how that works. So that's what kind of put it on the radar.
It was just a little bit of drama, but like for people, Motley Crue heads paying attention, they might be like, oh, this friend of Mick Mars is coming out and trashing,
everyone covered
the other guys in the band.
It was covered wide on the metal press.
Maybe there's something going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so April 6th, it comes out, it's widely reported that Mick is suing the band related to being, as John Corabi
yes, remember
surmised,
John Corabi?
that he was being pushed out of the band, not as he had intended to only retire from touring. I think what people aren't quite understanding here is that Mick is actually countersuing Motley Crue. Motley Crue sued Mick first. I don't know when that happened, but they effectively fired him from the band, and it gets a little bit complicated because it's not like being fired from your hardcore band for messing up the big show.
Band that you helped form, by the way, in like 1980.
This was a band he formed that is literally like a corporate monstrosity.
Sure, they
at
all
this
are.
point.
I mean, it's not.
They mention in like the brief or the suit or whatever you call it that he's being pushed out of multiple corporate entities, business entities that he was a 25% shareholder on like the board, a director. Like these are actual businesses. And a huge corporate structure. So it's a little opaque, really, what that means for him and whatever money he gets or future revenue he's being cut out on. The only thing we're hearing is that, of course, he's getting less tour revenue. And it's kind of unclear, I think, what he's fighting for, like what he's losing by getting pushed out of the corporate entities.
Well, according to his statement, like when he quit or was fired, he was getting 25%. Then, basically, they're like, if you quit, you only get 5%. But they're like, oh, but that's good, though. You're lucky you're getting 5% because in 2008, we signed a contract. We all signed a contract, and you signed it too, saying that you get nothing if you quit the band. And not touring is quitting the band, according to their little contract there. So they're like, oh, you're lucky you're getting 5%. Sign this. And he was like, I'm not signing this.
I didn't see that.
That was
that 2008 thing they signed. But
according to
just
them.
because you sign a contract, if it's not legally enforceable, the contract is null. So this will all have to be hashed out. But
according to their
again,
lawyer.
Motley Crue was suing them because he was refusing their severance package for being fired,
which was
basically,
the 5%,
and insisting that he did not quit the band, he did not resign, and he does not want to be cut out from owning shares in their various businesses.
Because he kind of wants to still be in this band, like you mentioned before. He still wants to do things,
So, Motley Crue sued him to force him into arbitration, which, if you're not familiar, just means, having like a negotiated settlement between them. And Mick Mars is countersuing them for just business documents from these businesses he's been cut out of to prepare for the arbitration. So it is a little bit less dramatic, like on the actual nitty gritty on what these lawsuits are. But what is a bit more dramatic is that Motley Crue said, well, they kind of contradict themselves here. They say he resigned by saying he resigned from touring because there is no Motley Crue, basically, I guess they say, outside of touring.
Yeah. That's the only purpose of you.
I don't know about that. Like, again, he could play one-off shows if they ever recorded something. He could do that.
I mean, should they tour? Really? Come on, guys.
That's also a good question.
Come on.
But then they said, even if he didn't resign, he's fired because he sucks.
Yeah, because he won't sign this thing, so obviously you're dead to us now.
No, he sucks musically. They're saying
that
he
too.
Can't play guitar. He made multiple mistakes on their last tour, and he has got cognitive failings. It's not that he can't because of his health. He has cognitive failings.
He's forgetting.
He's forgetting.
I can't remember these songs.
And for that reason, he's being fired with cause. Yes. If we want to use some employment terms here,
which triggers another Twitter feud between the two parties because
this is literally in his suit, his countersuit.
Okay.
Giving the details of like, you can't fire me for cause for that. Have you fucking seen Motley Crue live recently?
And that's the elephant in the room that everyone's tired. And I think most people are on Mick Mars's side here, because when they hear this, they're like, "What, really?" They're like, "Have you heard Vince Neil sing?" Like, apparently, according to what people have been talking about, the whole Carmine Appice thing, Nikki Sixx is playing the tracks, Tommy Lee is playing the tracks, and there's been some possible video evidence of this, possibly.
I mean, there's hard video evidence I've seen. I haven't really done a deep dive on this of Vince Neil not singing.
Oh, Vince
having
Neil,
a track.
clearly not singing. I mean, you'd know if Vince Neil was singing, because it would be absolutely unlistenable.
Yeah, like just playing the song from the album.
You've seen Vince Neil from the 2015 tour, which was atrocious, and then you've seen Vince Neil's solo work, where he doesn't use a track, and it's terrible. Like, he can't even remember the words, nor can he sing them, the words that he's making up. It's pathetic. I mean, Vince Neil is a pathetic human being. He always has been since day one. I love Motley Crue. I've never liked Vince Neil. We all know what he did, right? We know what he did back in 1984.
We literally just read his rap sheet actually on
It's
Wikipedia.
a long rap sheet.
It was a lot longer than we thought it would be. He's done a lot of other crimes.
Yeah, we all know he's a piece of shit. I mean, he beats women, he drinks, and here's the best part. Like, he was given, to prepare for this big, huge comeback tour that everyone wanted to see, they're like, hey, learn to sing again, lose weight. And then, remember, the tour got postponed by COVID. It was supposed to happen in 2020, right? So he had even more time to prepare, right? It's not like he has to go to a fucking 9-to-5 job every day. It's like he just has to sit home. He has all the money in the world. He can hire a trainer. And could he get in shape? Could he be bothered to fucking get into shape for this thing? No.
But, I mean, not that Tommy Lee is a good guy either. He is obviously not.
No, he's not. We know about.
And
God, we read his Wikipedia. Read his Wikipedia.
I mean, unlike Tommy Lee and Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx is not a felon.
No.
He has been, in trouble with the law, though. We did notice his Wikipedia page was very clean.
Yeah,
I think he has taken away. You can find out more Nikki Sixx drama on Tommy Lee's page. Than on Nikki Sixx.
I think Nikki Sixx is really the face of Motley Crue. I mean, he's the one that really formed the band. He wants to have a really clean rap. Obviously, he's had major problems with addiction before, which is, we're not going to blame him for. He's OD'd. I think he's died before. But, those are problems that need to be worked out. So, I'm not going to, he's obviously this level-headed guy who's the businessman in this band. He's like the Gene Simmons, I guess, right? So, he's trying to obviously protect his interests here.
Anyway, to get back on topic, Mick Mars did obviously point out, like, you're going to accuse me of not playing well. I'm the only one actually playing on the tour.
Apparently,
And
allegedly.
with all, and he's like, and he was saying he was unsupported on the tour, like he couldn't hear anything. He had terrible monitors because they don't need monitors because they're not playing.
Right. And he said, I screwed up a couple of times because I could not hear myself playing, which as someone has been on stage who cannot hear himself, that will make you screw up. Like, I could vouch for that as a guitar player that's been on stage. If you can't hear what you're playing, you're going to fuck up. Okay, that's a fact.
So, and he even, goes on to say, obviously, if you're not me, you can't, know if that's true or not, but that's, what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I believe him.
And considering, the obvious video evidence I've seen of Vince Neil not singing and, multiple rumors, people being like,
Man,
I heard the bass and Nikki Sixx has got his hand in the air. He's not playing it.
Or the drum starting before Tommy even sits down. Now, there was an explanation for that, and we'll get we won't get into that, but somebody was actually trying to, like, write that off as, like, sometimes they have a click track and it started maybe before he sat down. I don't know, but
why do you need a click track?
I don't know, to keep you in your ears or something, to keep you in time or something. I don't know, but somebody was trying to explain it, but,
anyway.
Whatever.
So he had that response, and then Motley Crue fired back with their own response from their lawyer, being like, "Oh, isn't this terrible? How he's saying all these mean things?"
Yeah, they were kind of trying to take this moral high road, being like, "Oh, this is so sad. We still love him. How can he do this to us?" That kind of feel.
Yeah, like Nikki Sixx had a tweet that was like, "Oh, we've been, propping him up for years, but we wish him all the best and hope he, gets a better lawyer or whatever."
Yeah, they're
taking advantage
of him. Just kind of gaslighting, as he claims.
He claims he was being gaslighted
his whole career.
That he, was losing it mentally, couldn't remember it. He even said later that he went to the doctor just to be sure, because he probably goes to the doctor a lot.
Sure, I mean he's very sickly.
They said he's all there mentally. He's fine. Anyway, so they fired back, and they also said that they got, affidavits or whatever, are statements from their staff, their touring staff, that
people that
he
get
sucks.
paid a lot from them.
Their employees agreed to give statements to their bosses of what the bosses wanted
Like,
to
imagine
hear.
you work for Motley Crue, you're probably getting a pretty good deal, like being on the road with them, right? They're getting paid a
The
lot.
guy's getting paid to run the backing tracks.
Yeah, I think like they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, they're not gonna vouch for when they're getting a pretty good salary, doing what they love. You would too, all right. You're gonna be loyal to the people that are giving you a lot of money. Right?
Yeah, and that's when they came in and said that he resigned by resigning from touring and everything like that. Mick later went on to give another interview in response to that and just laid out just the real airing of the grievances, mentioned that, since the 80s they've been trying to get rid of him, which why would they want to get rid of him other than that, like, he looks a little weird?
Yeah, he always kind of looks like,
he's
sort of
the guitarist for the band.
yeah, a very powerful guitar player.
Imagine the guitarist writes the riffs.
You would think so.
Who's gonna write the riffs?
I mean, Nicky's kind of like the really the power behind. Maybe he wrote some of the. I don't know. I don't know who wrote songs. I can't answer that for you. I should look into that. But I would imagine him. But even if he didn't, the power of his sound. I mean, when you hear Motley Crue, you hear that sound, that drop D sound. I mean, it's a legendary sound. He's a guitar player that does not get enough credit for playing. I mean, it sounds like a fucking chainsaw. You can't even hear everyone else, really. Like, they're all kind of generic sounding. Vince Neil's like with his screechy vocals. He's nothing special. They could have had anyone up there doing it. He doesn't even have a good stage presence, and he didn't back then. I mean, Tommy Lee kind of has a beat to him, but it's very generic. But Mick Mars, my God, that sound, you can't deny that sound. Like, and who was playing in drop D back then for for a hair metal band? It was kind of badass back then. I have to give him that. So great guitar player. So I'm gonna.
So, but yeah, them wanting to push him out. It just aesthetics. I gotta
Yeah, everything about him.
Like, he's older than them, and he's got, because of his illness, he looks a little unhealthy and sickly, and
he has a very kind of weak stature to him.
They're all about appearances and
he never
the look.
Yeah, he never I remember seeing Motley Crue videos back in 1987. I'm like, oh, that guy kind of looks weird. He doesn't look like the rest of them. He kind of looks almost sickly, right? And I always kind of wondered, why does he look so sickly? Not why you didn't, he had that disease back then. But as a kid, I was like, that guy kind of doesn't look like he belongs, right? He doesn't look as energetic as the rest of them. But
Mick also brings up in his interview that big reason why he's pushing back as hard is because it's abnormal for kind of a big successful establishment kind of band like this, if a founding member leaves who's been in the band not a couple years, like decades. He's been in this band 41 years
the whole time.
If they leave, they still maintain their shares in the business entities.
Yeah.
And his main example was Kiss. Ace Frehley still gets the Kiss money, even though he's got no involvement.
And he's got to deal with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, and he still gets the money. Okay, so
So we're talking about relationships that have fallen apart.
Yeah.
Just recently, there was Kiss
There is
drama.
Kiss drama. We're not going to go into that, but there is Kiss drama right now. But it's the usual. Kiss
but they're
drama,
not pushing him out of what he's owed.
No. It's just a typical feud between the two.
So Mick feels that he's getting pushed out, of what he helped build.
They don't want to pay him anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay him.
So it's
That's the money.
I feel like you had an initial reaction of well, he shouldn't get paid for not touring.
Well, yeah, because I had read, because at first, when I first heard the story, I was like, oh yeah, Mick Mars. But then I read into it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, but he's not touring though. They all agreed you wouldn't get paid, and they're giving him money. So shouldn't he not get paid? I mean, isn't that fair? But when you really dig into it, it's not.
I think he even says on his interview that he anticipated getting less money from the tour, and that they agreed that the next tour he'd get a smaller percentage, and the tours after that he would get nothing.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That was planned. Yes.
I think he was in agreement with that, but there's a lot that is not out, I feel like, of what's involved in him being pushed out of the corporate entities, which is what seems to be his main point of problem. Not necessarily the tour revenue.
Yeah, he still wants a piece of these things that he perhaps helped build, right?
But being pushed out of the multiple 7 perhaps business entities that make up Motley Crue.
When you're a band like that, it's like being in Metallica, right? You have it's a business at that point. It's the entertainment thing is just
wonder if
on the side.
Jason Newsted gets anything.
He does, yeah, I believe.
Jason Newsted.
Yeah.
Do they even like him?
You know what? They respect what he did the time he was in the band.
Time served.
Yeah, I think Metallica's like, even though they treated him like garbage, talking about gaslighting, they just did, and it's funny, when Robert Trujillo joined the band, they treated him like gold, automatic, Robert Trujillo automatically got 25% when he joined the band. They never give Jason anything like that, but Jason still gets his royalties. Like, they were fair to him, and he's still, that's the only reason like he's not starving is because of what
Jason Newsted, not even founding member.
Yeah.
Was a long time member though, but
Yeah.
not nearly as long as 41 fucking years.
Yeah, since the beginning, right? And Motley Crue is a band that hasn't really had all the huge lineup changes. I mean, when they got, they got rid of, thankfully got rid of Vince Neil in the early '90s, but that unfortunately did not do them very well. In the time when hair metal was, was at its lowest point, then they get some other singer, and then nobody's singing them. And I think in the late '90s they got rid of Tommy Lee, another, they replaced him with Randy Castillo, who unfortunately died soon after. But but then obviously they all came back together. But obviously they were, otherwise Mick Mars has been in the band since day one. He's never not been in the band. So
anyway, my thoughts is Mick Mars seems to be the only
decent person.
I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he's nice. People usually say he's like meek,
but we don't know.
And like humble.
But there's no record of it.
There's no record.
If he's bad,
he has no crimes on record, and there are many crimes on record.
Yeah, especially Vince Neil. You don't want to hear me go rant on Vince Neil, because Vince Neil just fucking gets me angry. Just piece of shit.
So
that guy is.
I think it's pretty obvious they're trying to screw him out of something, but we don't have all the details.
Probably, being it's a corporation. That's what corporations do. They're gonna screw with a little guy, who can't really defend himself, and he's just trying to defend himself to keep what's his. And so go Mick Mars. Anybody remember that time when Vince Neil was in a feud with Axl Rose back in the comment down below? And I want to ask you all. This is a little side note. And they were like making videos on MTV. Like they were like making these, like back then they didn't have social media, so they were like releasing videos. Like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass. You better step up. And Axl Rose was like, no, you better.
Axl Rose would kill him.
Axl Rose would have fucking killed him. And like he had that like explosive rage of a guy that had a really bad childhood, which he did. I think Axl Rose was like sexually abused, and he had a shitty childhood in Indiana, whereas like Vince Neil was like this pretty boy growing up in Pasadena or something, right? So yeah, he I don't know what you guys think, but bringing that up, like Vince Neil,
I wasn't aware of this. I guess I'm a little too young.
Look it up on you'll see the videos. Axl Rose would have fucking murdered him, like that, hands down. Wouldn't have even been a contest. Like that's yeah. If you remember that, comment down below, talk about that, who would win in that fight. But I'm sure on my guy is Axl Rose on that one. So just thought I'd bring that up.
All right.
It's more evidence that Vince Neil's a piece of shit.
Is that about it?
Yeah, folks, that's what everyone's talking about. If you see most videos on this, you're just pretty much reading all the tweets, or reading whatever was in Variety magazine, or that was on Metal Sucks, or the Corey Taylor News Network. We're kind of giving our own opinion on it. We're giving and Samanthar here just gave you like a bunch of like hard facts that no one's really talking about. No one's really bothering to interpret these things. They're just repeating everything they're reading. So I think that's why we have a superior take on this. That's why you should subscribe to us, because we're giving you, because Samanthar went in there and actually read the fucking fine print and gave you like what's actually going on in this lawsuit. If you looked at the legal documents, almost like no one's really bothering with that. So we did that for you at Here Lies Metal, and this is why.
Well, the press is definitely over dramatizing the whole suing thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The drama's more in like the the back and forth.
Yeah.
In the interviews and the statements. Everyone's
just fucking clickbaiting this thing, but we're giving you more. So you should subscribe to us and hit that like button.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. That's been the news. We don't do the news too often. Maybe if something interesting comes up, something that we're really interested, we really want to talk about. But otherwise, don't expect the news much from us. We don't, we kind of moved on to other things. But anyway, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy it. Comment down below on all these things you want to talk about. Okay, if you don't ever want us to talk about hair metal again, well, fuck you. All right.
I want to talk about hair metal.
I do. It's fun. You're right. It's fun, right? Whatever's left of it. So anyway, folks, have a good night. We'll see you again with another one. Bye-bye.
Right now, I want to put an end to this, and what I want is, Axl, if you're watching this, I want to challenge you to a fight. I'm going to give you the time, and I'm going to give you the place, and there's no backing out now, buddy, and it's time to put up or shut up.